I ran for 1 entire year to find out if I could go from a complete beginner to a seasoned athlete. And in this video, I'll reveal the lessons that I learned along the way to keep me going and that will keep you going too. Hi, my name's Connor. I'm a physiotherapist and runner, and I've made a lot of mistakes in my first year of running. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video where I'll reveal what's next and my plans for year 2 of running. In October of 2022, I started running with absolutely no idea what I was doing and with no goals or aspirations. But very early on, I came up with the overly ambitious idea of trying to run my first sub 20-minute 5K. So as I learned about how to train, I continued to grind as much as I could until I eventually thought I was fit enough to give it a crack. So off I went on my first ever time trial, and I completely failed. It wasn't until I learnt this first lesson of my running journey that I really started to unlock that first ambitious goal of mine. Patience and consistency compound over time. For some crazy reason, I'd convinced myself that I was somehow capable of running a sub 20-minute 5K after just a couple of months of running. So after a snap back to reality, I spent the next 2 months focusing on consistency and patience. And at the end of January, around about the 4-month mark, I rocked up for my first ever park run on a 30-degree day, and I ran 18:45. Crazy. The lesson that I learned from this is that patience and consistency are so important during the first couple of months of your running journey. Now, if you're on a running journey of your own, please comment below the lessons that you learnt during your first year, first month, first week, or even first day of running. I guarantee that you'll help someone in the comments section below. So month 4 came and went. And after my recent success, I set my next ambitious goal of running a sub 1:30 half marathon. And with that goal came more mileage as I crept up my weekly volume from 40 kilometers per week to 60 to 80 to 100 after only a couple of months of training. What was I thinking? And yep, some of you watching right now can see where this is going. I clearly didn't at the time. The next lesson that I learned was that getting injured sucks. And it is entirely avoidable if you just listen to your body. After reaching week 8 of this 16-week suicide plan that I'd created for myself, I decided to stop as I was getting some serious pain through my hips and adductor muscles. Now, I feel like every runner goes through this phase during the first 6 months at least of their training. And I think that has something to do with the way that running builds your mental strength and your mind way faster than it builds your body. The key is to react to this setback in a positive way and not continue to run yourself into the ground like I tried to do and clearly succeeded in doing. So here is what I did. I refocused my attention on getting my health back, feeling better, and recovering from the harm that I'd done to my body by starting again completely. That's right, a complete running reboot. During months 5 and 6, I continued to build my base, hit the trails, and smash easy running, so that I could one day return to the weekly park run to complete my Weekend Warrior redemption story arc. Months 5, 6, and 7 went by as I worked my way back to regular running. And in hindsight, it was clear to me that I really wasn't recovering previously when I was training for my half marathon. But now, I was so motivated to get back to where I thought I was previously, so I pulled out every trick that I could find in the book to train harder, run faster, and recover way harder. And I entered my biohacking era. Now, because running can be so stressful on the body, you can really hack your body's recovery and performance through small adjustments to your daily routine. And I learned that valuable lesson as my fitness exploded during that time. The first and most obvious hack is sleep. Now, I've already made a video on sleep, which I'll put here and in the description below, but there are a few other biohacking tips that I'll share with you now. Ice baths, stretching, and mobility routines were a staple for me after my hard workouts and long runs, as I slowly built up my mileage. I also hacked my training schedule during this period, and I did this by smashing as much lactate threshold as I could manage. Because lactate threshold, when done correctly, can be quite forgiving on the legs, I was able to do a 2-month block where I did 3 sessions per week, 2 of them being lactate threshold, which pushed my fitness on really quickly. During this period where I was doing lots of high intensity work, I realized that nutrition is really important, especially during workouts when you tend to get quite depleted. The way that I hacked this to keep my training quality as high as possible was by supplementing during my workouts. Now, you don't need anything special. I actually just use a Staminade powder in a water bottle with water. This stopped me from getting too tired or too depleted in my workouts and aided in biohacking my recovery. So here's what I learned from my biohacking era. It works, some more than others, but it all adds up to those marginal gains that compound over time to keep you healthy and fresh for those hard sessions. This biohacking of my recovery, as well as consistent patient training, got me in really good shape. So by months 8 and 9, I was feeling really fit, strong, and ready to push myself in some races. And now it was race season. Some of you will probably understand what's about to happen when an overly eager runner like myself gets back into racing after a long period of training. But we will get there. My first 2 5K races came and went, and I got my first ever sub 18-minute 5K, as well as running my first ever trail race. This put me in good stead for my first key race, which was a 12-kilometer race from the city of Adelaide to the shore. Oh, and just one more thing about this race. On the day, it was 28 degrees. But me being me, I sent it from the start as if it was only 10 degrees. And as you can guess, I blew up big time. As you can see by the Strava, my wheels fell off at about this point, and I learnt my next valuable lesson about pace yourself. Just like training, if you go out too hard in a race, you're gonna blow up massively. And just like being patient in your build-up, you have to be patient in your races too. Otherwise, you'll end up in a situation like me where you're suffering worse than you ever had on a day that's supposed to be a nice, fun charity race. So what did I learn? Racing is a skill, and if you go out too hard, running is no longer fun. In fact, running is horrible. So this past weekend, I put myself into a 10K race to try and learn my lesson and practice my racecraft. This race was to get me ready for a half marathon that I'm gonna run in a couple of weeks in December. And this entire first year of running finished in a perfectly run race, where I ran a negative split of 36:17. A negative split is when you run the second half of your race faster than your first half, and it's usually the best way to pace a race, another thing that I learned along the way. In the final few months of this first year of running, I really started to enjoy the whole process. Every run, every session, every long run, I absolutely loved. And I've now fully embraced the running journey, and I'm keen to run on to find the next lessons to learn. So how can you enjoy the running journey like I did? Delay your gratification. We live in a world where everything is designed to gratify our senses instantly. The biggest lesson that I've learned through running that has really applied to my whole life is this. What makes you happy in the long term sucks in the moment. And sucking is part of the journey. When I was out in the middle of winter when it was raining really hard, in that moment it wasn't fun. But when I look back on it now, I'm happy that I did it. Especially now that every time I try and head out the door to go for a run, it's like 38 degrees in Australia. The next lesson is to not rush. Everywhere that I look, I see people who are starting their running journey with the most unsustainable, ridiculous goals. I jumped into the really hard training way too early and I wasn't ready, and it really stuffed me up for a long time. Remember that there's more to running than a marathon, a half marathon, or any crazy goal. I enjoyed running more when I learnt my lessons. Now, it's one thing to have things to go wrong, but it's another thing to actually identify what went wrong, to make those changes and learn those lessons. You should always be looking to improve in some way, and when things go wrong, it's an opportunity to take a huge leap forward, just like I did. So, stepping into my second year of running, what's next for me and what are my goals? Well, firstly, to continue running. But more specifically, here are the running goals that I have. Next for me is the marathon, and more specifically, the sub 3 marathon. I'd also like to run a sub 120 half marathon, a 35-minute 10K, and a 16-minute 5K. But none of those goals really matter to anyone except myself. What really matters is that you, the viewer, who's still watching at the end of this video, starts their running journey and continues it. And really push yourself to run for a whole year. Because if you commit to that goal, you never know what's gonna happen. You might even start your own YouTube channel too.